What's up? What's up? What's up? Happy Monday. Happy Monday, as Shavannah coined the phrase last week, you know what I'm saying? Because we Monday. And so, yes, y'all, another day, another dollar. We are here, Monday Night Live. I'm feeling a little lonely because, usually I have my homegirl, Shavannah, here to kind of key with me about all things happening in St. Louis City and county governments, but she's taking some much needed R&R. Shout out to her. And she had a birthday too. She had a birthday this weekend. So, and you need your rest. So go ahead, girl, get your rest. But I do miss her. I ain't gonna lie. I do miss her a little bit. So for folks that are out there on the internets watching this, please feel free, comment, so we can kind of dialogue about what went down last week in St. Louis City and St. Louis County government. So without further ado, let's get into the business. Mm. All right, y'all. Like I said, we're going to get into this business right now. And it was a lot. It was a lot going on. So I know last week, I think we may have started with our county folks. So I'm going to start with the St. Louis City highlights. And so I will say there was a hella long HUDs, aka Housing, Urban Development, and Zoning committee meeting last week, because y'all know time is a ticking because the Board of Aldermen finna be on a break soon. So it's a lot of bills, a lot of things that need to be passed if people want them passed before the end of the session. So the HUD's committee meeting, it was hella long. I'll touch on two bills that were discussed during that meeting in these highlights here. But the first bill, Board Bill 64, sponsored by Alderman Shane Cone. And his bill, if passed, it would change some policies and procedures connected to consideration of development proposals. And he is not shy. He wasn't shy, saying, yeah, this bill was inspired by what went down with prior elected leadership with the Board of Aldermen when the feds and the indictments came out. So he said, yes, this bill was drafted in a direct response to that, to make sure that the incentives and just how development is done in the city of St. Louis is not business as usual, right? So his bill, Board Bill 64, and there's a lot to the bill. I'm not going to go into all of it, but I did want to highlight a few points in his bill. So the first one is that the bill would increase transparency around these processes by making sure that all of the meetings related to these projects are public, and also making sure that any application that a developer submits to SLDC, the St. Louis Development Corporation, that they are made publicly available as well. Another thing I wanted to lift up in this bill: no bill or resolution can be sponsored by an alderperson, y'all, unless they fill out a conflict of interest disclosure certification. Now, if these alders don't do that, or if they lie, leaving out information, you know what I'm saying, then they could be fined $500 for that. And then something else I wanted to lift up as well: if an alderperson wants to provide a letter of support, as far as, hey, they're in support of, in favor of a particular development project, then they have to, I guess, their letter has to include certain pieces of information. And I know there's a template and everything provided in the bill. And they have to use that format and or whatever is in that template as far as the content goes. And again, if the alders submit their letter of support and it don't include that stuff, then they might be subject to censure and loss of their committee assignments if the Board of Aldermen vote to, kick them out of the committees, and they could be fined. I know, right? So again, it's Board Bill 64. You can go read through some of the things yourself. Like I said, I just touched on a few of those points in the bill. So after all of that was expressed, Neil Richardson from the St. Louis Development Corporation, El Numero Uno, he was available and he provided his 2 cents because I believe it was Alderman Coder kind of wanted to see how SLDC thought about the bill, as well as, if they had the capacity to implement some of these things that were outlined in the bill. And so Neil Richardson, he said, how the bill is written right now, we don't disagree with it. However, we would like to see some of our now newly approved policies and procedures included in this bill. And I know me and Shavannah, we talked about the drafted form they had presented to the HUD's committee a couple weeks ago, I believe it was. Well, apparently their draft has been approved by their board. And so again, Neil Richardson was like, this bill is cute, it's cool, but we also need to make sure that what has been approved as far as SLDC's new policies and procedures when it comes to approving these incentives, we all need to be on the same page. So he was like, we need to put some more of that language in this bill. So after SLDC provided their 2 cents, Alderwoman Davis, who serves as the chair of the HUD's committee, suggested that Alderman Cone, sponsor, kind of put a pause on the bill and work with SLDC to make sure that what they wanted in the bill was included in the bill. Then Alderman Cone, he was like, I hear what you're saying, but I already got the tweaks that they want in the bill in the form of 10 amendments. So let's go through the amendments right here while we in this meeting. Let's go through it. And we can make those changes right now while we're here. And even now president of the Board of Aldermen, Megan Green, she was like, let's get this done now because the work's been done. Let's just move forward on this. And Alderwoman Davis was like, nah, we're going to put a pause on this. We're going to, you know what I'm saying? Take a couple deep breaths, woosah, and take our time to make sure that this bill is done the right way. So ultimately, the bill was held in the committee. I'm sure that they will be revisiting this bill. So to be continued, y'all, to be continued. Whew, Lord, that just made me, that was a lot. That was a lot, y'all. Me talking this out, that was just a snippet of the energy with that bill. So the second highlight I want to call y'all's attention, also in the HUD's committee meeting, was Board Bill, I believe this is 120, sponsored by Alderman Bosley. And so his bill proposes using about $74 million in ARPA coin to improve our city's infrastructure. I know, right? Hallelujah. So if you see on the slide, I know it's kind of small, so bear with me on that, y'all. But if you see on the slide, it shows how the coins would be allocated. So of that $74 million, you have $55 million, which will go to the Board of Public Service. Service. I don't know why I always want to say surface, but it's service. My bad, y'all. So if you see of that $55 million heading to the Board of Public Service, one of the biggest ticket items, $15 million, will go to support the building of a public safety answering point, which again will help with streamlining, them 911 calls. We also have $12 million going to the design and implementation of traffic calming and roadway improvements based on completed traffic studies, $14.5 million to address ADA and traffic calming improvements with 5 corridors identified in a previous board bill that will have some improvements on them. And those corridors are Goodfellow, Union, I believe Grand, and I'm blanking on the other 2. But it will go towards those improvements. And $8 million for street paving. Yeah, that's needed. So some of the other ticket items, $5 million going to support the digital equity fund. We've got $1.6 million to support the software needed, again, to streamline and make sure our 911 operation systems are effective. 2.4 million for workplace modernization and enhancements, 400 grand for park improvements in the Hyde Park neighborhood. And lastly, but certainly not least, we got 9.6 almost $1 million going to the streets department. Now, something I wanted to call folks' attention to. So 6 million sidewalk improvements, but that 1.25 million going to support the mobility and transportation master plan for the city. So this was something that Mayor Jones was really pushing and advocating for. So what was the verdict on this bill in the committee, y'all? Well, there were some alder people in the committee was like, wait, like we got some projects and there are some things, that we would like to see included in this bill, where ARPA funds could be utilized again to improve. Because trust, we have a whole lot of needs when we talk about our infrastructure in our city. So the bill is put on pause to allow time for other alder people to add their projects to this bill. So to be continued, y'all, to be continued on this. The next highlight I wanted to share with you all from last week during the Health and Human Services Committee meeting. There was a bill discussed rather, that if passed would provide a right to counsel for tenants facing eviction in the city of St. Louis. So what is this given? What does this entail? So I'm gonna play a clip from Alderwoman Ingracia. She was the sponsor of the bill. So listen to her as she kind of breaks down what this is about and why this is so desperately needed in our city.
A right to counsel is the ability for tenants who are facing eviction to have access to free legal representation. 2017 marked the first year that a program like this existed. New York City was the first to implement it. Now there are at least 15 cities in several states who have taken this on between 2017 and 2022, including, because I know a lot of times it's difficult for us to mirror what's happening in places like New York or San Francisco, but Kansas City, Minneapolis, Louisville, Cleveland have all been able to implement this. And it's been on the books for long enough that there's actual data on the returns of why this not only is the right thing to do from a humanitarian perspective, but also the correct thing to do from a cost savings perspective. In fact, the White House released a blueprint this week for renters' rights, and right to counsel was mentioned in it under diversion and relief. Right to counsel is something that the Biden administration finds critically important. And so with that,
So I will share this with y'all. So this meeting was on, I want to say last Thursday evening at 5 o'clock. And when I tell you, people showed up to testify, well, virtually showed up, you know what I'm saying, because they was on Zoom. But there were almost 60 people that signed up to testify in support of this bill. And this included legal eagles from not even from the state. Like I forgot where the guy was from, but he won from here. So you had content experts and also advocacy groups and organizations, community-based organizations, and also folks that have unfortunately had to deal with these types of issues as renters. So there's a lot of support for the bill from the community, also from the Health and Human Services Committee. So what was the final verdict with this? Well, Alderwoman Ingracia, she said there's still some tweaks that needed to be made to the bill before it could be brought up for a vote out of the committee. So she said she wanted to make those tweaks and they'll revisit the bill at some point this week. So yes, once again, to be continued. So, I did want to lift up that even though there are quite a few bills that are kind of hanging in the balance, or still some tweaks and things need to be made. There was a bill that was finally passed last week, and that was the bill that will increase the salary of the Board of Aldermen members to $72,000 starting in April. So that joint got passed for sure. So something I do want to lift up to people and for folks to keep in mind. And maybe, I don't know, I'm not one of those people that, is a procrastinator. And because some people, they do well working under pressure in the 13th hour. I'm not one of those people, but I don't know, maybe some of our legislators, they can rock and roll like that. Because when I tell y'all, those bills that I mentioned are kind of, they still got their tweaks and got to be worked out. It's quite a bit other things that are kind of hanging in the balance. And the Board of Aldermen, their final full meeting where they can pass bills and stuff, it's on February 10th before they go out on their break, before all the elections and things. So again, this Friday is what, the 3rd or something like that of February. So y'all, it's gonna get interesting, and I really don't know what to expect, because there's just a lot of bills. There's a lot of things going on right now, and time is of the essence. So it's going to be a busy week and some change, couple of weeks. So please, y'all, stay tuned, especially my St. Louis City fam, because it's a lot at stake. It's a lot at stake. So it'll be interesting. So now, of course, I'm going to pivot. I'm going to pivot to my St. Louis County fam, because y'all know I rocks with y'all too. So there are a couple of highlights I did want to mention that happened last week. So first, last week, and I don't know if y'all remember, me and Shavannah, we were talking again late last year, that basically St. Louis County, they broke. So I shouldn't put it like that, but I mean, they have some financial issues. And so in them discussing these problems and really lifting up that, like, they gonna have to make some real important decisions, which is looking like they might have to cut some stuff. And so in order to make those decisions, I don't know, whoever had the idea, which I was surprised that they didn't do this, but the county council and the county executive agreed that they would meet every month to discuss the budget. Because again, there are a lot of decisions that are going to have to be made. And obviously, when you cut services, that means that you are impacting people and vice versa. So again, I definitely don't envy anybody in this role or in this space. So again, they said they would have these collaborative budget meetings. So last Tuesday afternoon was the first collaborative budget meeting that was held. I know it was available on WebEx. I kind of peeped it. I listened to it a little bit, and it was, the first meeting. So it was kind of some like level setting the tone, what I'm saying, explaining what the purpose of these meetings were, all of that kind of stuff. So something I did want to mention that I found interesting, and, I like sharing this information with my people. So what you see on this slide is basically the 2024 calendar for the budget. So St. Louis County's fiscal year is from January 1st through December 31st. So again, this is for next year, 2024's budget. So if you can see, and I know it's small, y'all, bear with me, I know it's small, but this is how it works as far as them coming up with developing the budgets, right? So in June and July, so June is for the small St. Louis County departments. They have to submit their budgets by June. The larger departments have to submit their budgets by July. Then they have these meetings to tweak things, change things, whatever. And then in September, that's when the budget gets to That's when the budget gets to the county executive. Then the county executive, he's basically got a full month to really come up with his full recommendations. And then the budget goes to, you guessed it, the St. Louis County Council in October. And then from October through the end of the year, the St. Louis County Council, they have the privilege of voting on and approving the St. Louis County budget. So I just want to say, for real, y'all, from October to roughly the end of the years, I mean, that's 2 months. And then when you look at December, I mean, you're really looking at what, 2 weeks for real, because that's when everybody goes out on vacation and things close down, right? When you're talking about the third week of December. So you really have like 2.5 roughly months to comb through the budget. You know, they have all of these hearings where they speak with each department head and, you know, inquire about their budgets and their programs and all of this stuff. And really, that's just not a lot of time, especially when we're talking about how vulnerable St. Louis County's budget is. So, again, they are trying to kind of work through this schedule to do something that, again, I'm surprised has never been done, with the county executive, the county council, and department heads really working collaboratively and doing this stuff before the council gets the budget in October. So, like I said, they had their first meeting, which, I mean, I found it to be hopeful and a good start. Now, fast forward to Tuesday night. You know, it's like sometimes like you just feel so hopeful and you're like, yes, there's progress. And then like slam bam, you know, you come back down to reality. You know what I'm saying? So fast forward again, feeling hopeful Tuesday afternoon. And then fast forward to that evening during the St. Louis County Council meeting. It's like, damn, can we just have our moment? Can we just have our moment of positivity and hope and light? No, we can't. So during the county council meetings, when the county executive, when he's present, he usually provides a report of, you know, what has happened or things that he wants to highlight in the past week or whatever. And so during his report, he mentioned that they had their first collaborative budget meeting. Great, cool. So then, following up on that report, Councilman Tracus, he had some thoughts of his own, and Chairwoman Webb, you know, she had to respond. So I'm gonna play this clip so y'all can get into this exchange.
Number one, this meeting that took place was between 3 council members and the county executive. It was not open to the public. Public was not invited to attend. There was no notice of the meeting. That was by design. And I have a problem with that. What was envisioned last year when this discussion regarding monthly meetings about the budget to be held envisioned public hearings where the public could be present, observe, and be heard. Department directors would come in and present and answer questions with respect to the areas of their budget that might be open to modification or not. As I understand it now, what's planned is a weekly meeting with the chair of the council and 2 other council members and the county executive behind closed doors, not subject to notice or public hearing. And then maybe once a month, we'll get a status report from that group with respect to what they've decided. I don't think, it's certainly not my understanding of what was envisioned when we talked about these monthly meetings last year. So I just want to go on record as opposing that process and make the case that it should be a public hearing where the full council is present and members of the public can attend and be heard, as well as requiring department heads to meet with the council and answer questions concerning their budget. Thank you.
Councilman Tracus, I'm glad to hear your voice. We have had an opportunity to get engaged. It's good to hear from you tonight because I've reached out on numerous times to get your input and I did not get any. I will not allow for any skepticism to creep into this process. We are working in good faith. We are working transparently. The meeting today was available online. There was some technical difficulties, but it was available. What I'm going to ask of you, sir, is respect and civility and grace to allow us to put a full framework in place that will engage the public. And we can take this offline to discuss further. As I address the audience tonight, I want you to know that everyone has come to this table working in good faith and transparency. We want a process that would not only share the budget where we are, but educate us as we have to make some tough decisions. We don't have time for grandstanding. We don't have the patience or the resources to even get distracted because this process is going to be so involved. We want you here with this process. You elected us and trust us to do this work. And we're engaging you on a monthly basis so that you can be informed. So what I'm going to ask of everyone that can hear my voice and see my face, I'm going to ask for grace because this is the first time in the history of the council that we've done anything of the sort. Allow us to be flexible and adjust as we need to and pivot in this process. And trust the feedback. We have representations across party lines. We have representations from the offices of the county exec and the council. The county has some big challenges, everybody. The money issues didn't just happen last night. They've been issues for decades. And now we're stepping up to the plate and doing the hard work. So work with us. Give us that space to come up with a good process to communicate well with you all. And all other distractions will not be allowed.
Oh, I mean, there was a lot there. I'm sorry, that was a lot in that clip. And I just, for me, again, I just thought it was hilarious when Chairwoman Webb was like, "Oh, it's good to hear your voice. We've reached out to you and it's been crickets." It just, I don't know. I just felt, I've had conversations with that, like that similarly when you've been reaching out to people and you ain't heard from them and you're like, "Oh yeah, it's good to see you. It's good to hear you." So I thought that was funny. But I do think that it's a start. These meetings, y'all, they are a start. Could the meetings be more, I guess, accessible for the public to provide some input? Yeah, but I mean, I really didn't expect that from the first damn meeting, because they got to make sure they're all on the same page with how things are going to flow, what the outcomes of the meetings are, all of that. So, I don't know. Like I said, I still think it's a good start. It still blows my mind that they haven't had these collaborative meetings in the past. But again, like I said, you got to start somewhere, and they got a lot of work to do. I don't envy none of them in this position because it's some tough decisions that they really are going to have to make, y'all. So again, to be continued. I know I keep saying to be continued, but I'm sure there'll be more to report on this budget matter. So another highlight I wanted to mention as far as St. Louis County goes, because we have had Ferguson Councilwoman Nelson, again, shout out to her, blessing us with her presence on our platform. So I did want to, call to the attention that Ferguson City Manager really resigned officially last week. So to be continued, I'm sure they'll start the process again with hiring folks. So anyone out there interested in that position, again, I'm sure they'll be looking to fill it shortly. So wow, yeah, I'm still a little sad. I'm a little heartbroken. You know, my homie, Vanna, she wasn't here to share in the news, the info, the drama, all of that of last week with the city and with the county, but she's with us in spirit. And that's really, I mean, that's all that I have for y'all. So again, it's a lot of stuff going on, especially in the city of St. Louis. So to be continued. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of meetings this week. So I'm looking forward to relaying that information to y'all next Monday. Speaking of next Monday, special announcement. So we are going to have our first in-person Monday night live extravaganza at the Contemporary Art Museum, y'all. Shout out to the Cam Mama. We made it because we at the Cam, right? JK, just joking there. But for real, so we will be, so myself, the homie Vanna, and our special guest, Big Esco, we will be live and in person at the Cam, talking our stuff, talking our ish, just like we do on this here platform. We're gonna be doing it live and in person. So please come next Monday, February 6th. The doors open at 6:30. Big Esco, he'll be on the ones and twos. I know, right? And we gonna feed people because you know when my people come out, I gotta feed y'all. You know what I'm saying? You know how we do. So I'm gonna feed y'all dinner on Transform 314, and we will start the show at 7 o'clock. So please come out. Make sure you register at Eventbrite. So Eventbrite, Monday Night Live. Make sure you register because you know I gotta order food. So I need to know how many people are coming so I can make sure y'all eat, right? So please get registered. I also want people to know we're not gonna be doing a hybrid situation. So Monday Night Live will not be streamed next week because we will be in person at the Contemporary Art Museum. So please come out. And I have a special announcement to make too. So please come out, grab a friend, tell a friend, grab your mama, your auntie, your cousin, your coworker, whomever. Please come, get some free food, and be in community with us as we connect on and dive into what's going on so we can be aware, and really influence the goings on of local government in the city and also in the county for the betterment of our communities. So that's all I got, y'all, for real. So if you watch the replay of this, feel free, as we always strongly encourage, feel free if you have any questions, any comments, put them joints in the chat box. Message me if you have any questions or what have you. Make sure you register for next week's Monday Night Live at the Cam. Bring a couple friends with you, and I'm looking forward to seeing y'all next week. Until then, please be safe out there. These roads still a little trash, so y'all be careful out there, and I hope to see y'all next week. Peace.